In this video, I'm going to talk about night patrol positions, squad and below. This is basically you're out in the field and you need to get some rest at night. People need to rack out because they're tired. Now, I'm going off of things that I was trained on, things that I've read about in history, and also read about in different light infantry books and stuff over the years. I'll give you some pros and cons and how some of this stuff was set up. Now, first off, we have here a shotgun scatter or a cluster. Here you have two-man buddy teams. They're spread out over the area, and each buddy team is located to cover a high-speed avenue approach or an area that needs to be watched that the enemy could infiltrate through. In this situation, you're at a minimum of 50% guard. One person is up, one person is down at each position. Now, the pros on this one, you're spread out. It lessens your chances of casualties if you start taking indirect fire. You start taking, propelled grenades coming in, your 40 millimeter, your 30 millimeter, or you start taking in some mortars. If you're taking artillery, you're probably going to get wiped out regardless. Now, a major con on this one, you're spread out. So it's going to be harder to spread information to communicate back and forth. Now, there's possible you could figure out some type of way for spreading the information back and forth, but it will not be voice. You're not going to be yelling it out. You're not going to be whispering it. And if you're moving one person to each position passing the information, well, then you're leaving a person by themselves in that fighting position. So if you got the enemy coming in from this direction, he needs to pass that info on to the other position so they wake up also. If he sends out that one person over here or over here, well, then he's by himself watching the enemy coming in. So who knows what's going to happen. Especially when the buddy gets back and he's spooked. He could mistake his buddy for the enemy. Or potentially the enemy has infiltrated in and he thinks that person that's coming up on him from behind is his buddy, but it's actually the enemy coming to slit his throat. Something like this would be something that you would put in, say, on top of a small hill or something like that. The next one is the alternating line or the cigar shaped. In this one, everyone faces out. You have one person on each end that's facing out. So you got your 360 degree. The minimum on this is 33% guard, so 1/3 of your people is up. And on this, the ends are always covered. Whoever is on the end is always awake, so you might have to wake up this person or this person to take that person's place, and that person shifts over here to rack out whatever it is. But you always have at least 1/3 of the people on guard duty at watching all times. Now, in this type of situation, you can have them located a little bit closer together where everyone is within arm's reach. So if this person sees something, he moves his arm over, he smacks this one person in the leg. And then maybe they have some type of signal. It's like, smack them when he knows they're awake. If he squeezes his calf, it means there's a large number of people coming in. If he smacks the foot, maybe it's just one person, that type of thing. Whatever code they come up with. I've also come across a recommendation of stringing like 550 cord or communications wire across on each side, and then whoever sees something, they grab that 550 cord, that wire. Each person makes sure to have an arm laying across that 550 cord or the wire. That person sees something, he grabs it, he starts shaking it up and down and stuff, so people's arms get smacked down on the ground and they wake up. But that doesn't always work. A lot of people are really sleep good through the night. They may not notice that compared to getting smacked in the leg. Now, next one is wagon spokes. Everyone is laid out, facing out. You're covering 360 all the way around. And then you try to get everyone's feet close together here in the center. And then if one person sees something, if he's close enough, he smacks the person next to him. Or he starts kicking people in the leg back here. And then you pass the information ear to ear going around. I missed the pros and cons on the cigar. The pro is it's better for communications. You're closer together, so you can communicate by whispering back and forth. The con is everyone's in line. It won't take too many rounds to take everyone out. In the Spoke Pro, you have 360 degree coverage. This is also one you want at least a 1/3 of the people in guard at all time. Make sure you're covering every direction. Everything's always under surveillance. A con, everyone's together and a single round right here in the center can take out everybody. Now the Square. This is one that's typically arranged around an object like a tree or a column or a rock. There's some type of object here in the center and everyone is facing outward, as you see here. On this, 50% guard minimum at all times. Now when you're doing 50% guard, and this is a major con on this, if this person's awake, this person's awake, this person has to cover from this area here all the way down to here, and then this person has to cover from here all the way up to here. Constantly looking around. But on this one also, it can be this person can kick this person to wake this person up, and then he can also smack this person in the leg. But you're going to be a little bit more spread out, so the information is going to be harder to pass. You can't do it by voice or whisper. You'd have to come up with some type of code. So the pro on this is everyone can be woken up pretty easily. The con, large guard sectors. Plus you also got that object in the center, so you can't necessarily see what's going on behind you. Now could you do something like this in the open without an object in the center? Yes, you could, pretty easily. So another one which I do not show on here, do not draw in, is you have your squad clustered, like up in here, everyone's in the center, and then you just got a couple sentries out. You know, one covering each direction. And then when it's time to rotate, that one guard pulls back, wakes up his person that's supposed to replace him. That guard goes back out on his position. When that person wakes up, he comes out, replaces him, he goes back, and then they just rotate. You know, one guard position at a time till everyone's rotated out. So these are just some methods that are out there of doing this. I know there's going to be others. So if you got a way that you did when you were in, or a position you can think of, you know, put it in the comments. One that I came across, I'll mention this, with the wagon spokes. This was one that was pretty common with LRP teams in Vietnam. When they did it, the LRP team, which was typically like a 4-person team, maybe a little bit larger, they would locate themselves inside a thorn bush. So they would crawl down underneath, clear their way out a little bit, and then they would all be sticking out, you know, near the edges of the thorn bush. They would put out, you know, a few booby traps, maybe some trip flares, claymores, whatever around them, and then they would still go through and do their rotation for sleeps and stuff at night, because you cannot stay awake 24 hours straight multiple days on end. Your efficiency goes down and you start hallucinating. You are going to have to sleep. It's a given. You're going to have to do it sooner or later. Ideally, you do it during the daytime, but the way the human body is built, it's designed for going to sleep at night and being up during the day. Now, For all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and militia movements, always remember, essayons.